Have you ever been depleted of all your emotional reserves or utilized for manipulative purposes? Hey, have you ever wondered how someone could treat you so badly that you're starting to doubt your sanity? If you've ever been in a relationship where someone takes and never provides, it can make you feel like you're the issue. When their drama turns into your burden, or when each day seems like a struggle, this movie is for you. It's time to escape the psychological torment of emotional abuse and manipulation. I'll give you 13 shrewd strategies for handling poisonous people, employing Stoic wisdom practices that have been practiced for thousands of years, yet are more applicable. Now let's examine the core of manipulation in the modern world more thoroughly than before. Control and psychological warfare, and provide you with the means to safeguard your tranquility and reclaim your connections in life, whether they be romantic, familial, or even. Because we live in a society where people are quite toxic, friendships may be really toxic. Toxic people who have been trained to control others in order to achieve their goals will suck you empty, leaving you feeling worn out, helpless, and wondering whether your self-worth. But the truth is that you are in charge of your own destiny. Overcome their strategies and take charge of your mental health. Control what you can and let go of the rest, like the Stoic grasped so well. In this video, we will reveal 13 effective tactics that are centered on Stoic thinking that will enable you to deal with toxic individuals like a warrior. We're talking about acting bravely and decisively to protect oneself, not about acquiescing to abuse in a passive manner. First and foremost, regain your composure and develop emotional resilience. Recognize hazardous conduct, determine poisonous behavior. Let's begin with something that ought to be clear, but isn't. Now that you've identified toxic behavior, I want you to consider, have you ever been in when someone makes you believe like your efforts are never good enough? They criticize everything, whether it's a friend, spouse, or relative. Always question your choices, and they're always the one that suffers as a result. It sounds familiar to find yourself apologizing even when you did nothing wrong. That is the quintessential destructive form of manipulation. People with poisonous behaviors sap you of your life, much like emotional parasites, out of you, but they do it so covertly that you frequently aren't aware of it till. They're masters of the silent jab, the seemingly insignificant innocent remarks that cause you to doubt your value and lose confidence could sound like, "Oh, I was simply joking," or "Why you're so sensitive," but don't be fooled by what they say. When it comes to emotional manipulation, toxic people enjoy playing the victim. They will make you feel bad for just defending yourself in every circumstance. How many times have I've heard that after everything I've done for you, I can't believe you would do this to me. The way you treat me is manipulation meant to cause you to question your intuition and diminish your identifying these acts as emotional abuse is the first step in breaking free from defenses. It's not simply a poor day or a misunderstanding, is an intentional attempt to manipulate and control you. Once you can see through their facade, you may begin taking precautions. Here's a golden rule to keep in mind that it's a serious red flag. Believe me, if you have to defend someone's behavior to others or to yourself all the time. You don't have to justify abuse in healthy relationships. Toxic ones do. Number 2, realize that it's not personal. Here's an astounding fact. It's not about you. I am aware that toxic people's actions are always about them and never about you. That may seem straightforward, but consider how many times you have questioned yourself after hearing their words. They give you the impression that everything is your fault, but it's actually not their fault, leaving you to wonder if you are the true issue. Their own internal conflict and fears are reflected in their destructive actions. Considering their refusal to accept accountability for their own deeds, Have you ever observed how establish definite boundaries? When they're stressed or insecure, a toxic person will snap at you. Perhaps they had a rough day at work, or instead of addressing their problems, they project their unhappiness onto you because they are unhappy with their own lives. They will fabricate circumstances to make it appear as though you're the target all of a sudden, the source of the issues. But in truth, they're only trying to find someone to place the blame on, which is where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics had a profound realization that we have no control over what other people do. Poisonous folks only care about how we react. They aim to set off your feelings, since that's how they keep everything under control. However, after you realize that their actions are unrelated to you and that you are capable of overcoming them, give up the impulse to correct them, the self-doubt and the shame, because here's the fact. You can only defend yourself when they try to drag you. You can't fix them. Remind yourself that it's not about me. You are not involved in their emotional turmoil. Their problems are their therapist, their emotional target, or their scapegoat. Number 3 makes it obvious that they are responsible, not you. Now that you've identified the poisonous behavior and realized it's not personal, it's time to set boundaries. To establish some firm boundaries, and I don't mean ambiguous ones. I'm referring to strict, non-negotiable guidelines that safeguard your tranquility and health, because toxic people detest boundaries. Let me share a little secret with you. Boundaries restrict their power over you. Toxic people are testing you, which is why they keep pushing your boundaries. They may begin with minor infractions like persistent texting, or want to see how much they can get away with. When someone calls you constantly, interrupts your job, or demands your attention when you need time, it becomes out of hand. Before you realize it, you're giving up your time, energy, and mental well-being to ensure their happiness. Yet the worst part is that you owe no one anything. Your time, energy, and emotional health are valuable, and you have. Setting limits isn't selfish. It's essential to defend them. You must be able to refuse without feeling guilty, without giving a reason, and without. This is a straightforward but effective boundary. Stop justifying yourself in a toxic way out of fear of reprisals. People enjoy dragging you into never-ending justifications on why you should. Why are you behaving this way? Do you not give a damn about me? They'll utilize. You can use wrath, remorse, and manipulation to defend your choices. But when someone tries to cross your boundaries, you don't have to explain why. Just tell them this is what. The more you talk, the more I require or am available for that time. The more you maintain your boundaries, the more they will understand that they cannot control you, and eventually they will either their actions or find another person who will put up with their foolishness. Develop your non-reaction skills. The 4th phase is to learn the art of non-reaction. This is where, by learning the art of non-reaction, you begin to regain significant influence over toxic people. Reactions are used to elicit a rise out of you because, let's be honest, every time you react, whether it's with rage, irritation, or even sadness, they thrive on the drama, granting them complete control over your feelings. But here's the Stoicism teaches us that you have the ability to stop them in their tracks, that although we have no control over what other people do, we do have control over how we react. Picture yourself when you're having a disagreement with someone toxic. They're accusing, insulting, and blaming you in an attempt to elicit a response. But what if you choose to remain fully compliant instead? It may sound ridiculous, but what if you just didn't react at all? When you stop responding to their crap, you strip, and I promise it's one of the most effective movements you can make. If you refuse to play their game, they will lose their power and be unable to dominate you. I understand that it's difficult, particularly when they're pressing all the buttons, but the lack of response is similar to erecting an emotional barrier around oneself. When someone tries to provoke you, their words and actions will have a greater impact on you. Instead of responding right away, stop and take a big breath. Saying anything neutral like, "I hear what you're saying," or "I'll think about it," is not necessary. Simply end the discussion. You don't have to give them an emotional reaction. And number 5, use the grey rock. You don't owe them your peace of mind. Now, let's discuss one of the best strategies for handling toxic individuals that have a craving for drama. The grey rock approach is a game changer when it comes to someone who enjoys chaos, and poisonous individuals wants your time and energy, and most importantly, your response. So what do? You get so dull, and every time this happens, it's as dull as possible, like a grey rock picture. When someone tries to cause drama, you react with the most uninteresting and neutral response conceivable. They're anticipating that you'll lose it, cry, or have a passionate dispute, yet you choose to remain composed, unconcerned, and you give them nothing because you don't care about the chaos they're attempting to cause. The reason this works is that toxic people take advantage of your energy while you're giving them fuel when you react emotionally, but when you turn into a grey rock, they lose because they are emotionally cold, aloof, and unaffected by their antics. Interest. They need drama to survive, and without it, they have nothing. Since they're not receiving the desired response, they will eventually either change their conduct or move on to. This isn't about being someone else who will satisfy their craving for upheaval. It's about keeping your peace by not being passive or allowing them to walk all over you. By declining to play their game, you're denying them access to your feelings. Try that the next time someone tries to drag you into their toxic drama. It's the ultimate form of control. Be astounded at how rapidly the dynamics change once you the technique of broken records. Unreactive number 6. Talking about toxic people using the broken record technique. They never take no for an answer and will persist until you give up. This sounds familiar. If someone has attempted to manipulate you or guilt-trip you into doing something you obviously don't want to do, it could be a spouse who persistently requests something from you, or a buddy who continually expects you to drop everything to aid them. These individuals, who you have already rejected, are like bulldozers. They never stop pressing and pushing until you finally give up, is when the broken record technique is useful. And believe me when I say that, here's how one of the most potent tools you'll ever use operates. Rather than engaging in a debate or attempting to defend your position, you just reiterate it repeatedly, and this picture is like a broken record. Someone asks you to do something absurd, and rather than defending, arguing, or explaining, you say calmly that they push back bothers me, but you don't back down and keep saying, I'm uncomfortable with that. I'm calm and steady and not defensive or emotional. After a while of repetition, they give up or disclose their true selves after realizing they can't get beyond your barricade. This method is particularly helpful in intimate partnerships when the beauty of the poisonous relationship is that the person feels entitled to your time, energy, or resources. The broken record technique doesn't make things worse, but it strengthens your boundaries because toxic people enjoy wearing you down. Yet they lose their hold when you maintain your position consistently. However, keep in mind that borders aren't. You don't have to give a reason for keeping your peace. It's negotiable. Reduce your contact with toxic people. One of the hardest realities you'll face is number 7. Restrict your exposure to poisonous people. No matter how much you love someone or how long you've known them, you have to accept the fact that certain individuals are just horrible for you. They just bring bad things into your life, and the more time you spend with them, the more exhausted and depressed you get. People that feed off your energy are emotional parasites, and you become toxic. Generosity and your time. But the truth is that you owe them nothing, not even your time, emotional vitality, and unquestionably not your mental well-being at times. Reducing your contact with toxic people is a powerful step you can take, I know. That establishing distance or severing relationships can be challenging, particularly if the person has been a family member for a long time, buddy or someone you hold in the highest regard. But here's the unsettling truth. If someone consistently minimizes you, your health must come first. If you're feeling anxious or emotionally spent, it's time to separate. And then it indicates that you value yourself enough, not that you don't care. Limiting exposure can be done in a variety of ways to preserve your tranquility, for as by viewing them less frequently, keeping discussions short, or steering clear of delicate subjects that cause unpleasant. If it's a co-worker, the behavior could entail restricting interactions too. If it's a family member, professional matters may require establishing clear guidelines for when and how you, while interacting with them, you may maintain your composure and show them respect. Your mental well-being is invaluable, and poisonous individuals have no right to take that away from you. Thus, number 8, gain your backing. Create a support network. Isolating you from the system is one of the most pernicious strategies poisonous individuals employ. Others will, whether intentionally or not, damage your other connections. Over time, they chip, giving you the impression that they are the only people you can trust, eroding your self-esteem, causing you to question your judgment, and separating you from those who truly care about you. This is how they stay in power, taking advantage of your dependence and maintaining. You're caught in their poisonous web, but here's a stark reality. You must accomplish this alone. One of the best strategies to combat the influence is to establish a solid support network. Eliminate poisonous individuals. Surround yourself with those who truly care about your welfare, encourage your development, and who honor your limits, whether they be family members, friends, or a group of like-minded people with a strong support system will make all the difference. Having supportive individuals on your side can make a big difference in how you handle toxic relationships. Your support network should make it far more difficult for toxic people to destroy you. Include those that push you to grow, but in a positive way, and those who inspire you to be the best version of yourself. These pals call you out when you're falling, but they do it in a way that feels empowering rather than depleting. They are the ones who accept your boundaries with compassion rather than condemnation. When you have a tribe of individuals, they will support your choices and never make you feel bad for going with what's best for you. Poisonous people lose their hold on you because they no longer love and respect you. Remember that the more support you have, the more power isolation has over you. The less toxic individuals control your life, the more you can rely on your folks, them, and use their encouragement to bolster your own strength. Number 9. Make self-care a priority. Toxic self-care individuals are draining, whether it's through emotional manipulation. Self-care is important because unrelenting negativity or criticism can drain you of your life. It's not only a luxury, but also a need. Consider self-care to be your emotional armor, shielding you from the damaging consequences of poisonous connections without. Because you are susceptible to burnout, resentment, and emotional tiredness, what exactly is self-care? It appears that dealing with toxic people involves more than simply bubble baths and spa days, though they can also be beneficial. True self-care involves making decisions that safeguard your physical, mental, and emotional health. It's about understanding, knowing when to refuse without feeling bad is important for making room for oneself. Most crucially, to recharge, reflect, and recalibrate, realizing that your needs are equally, if not more, crucial than The harsh reality is that poisonous people will never put your needs first. They will always demand that you prioritize them and give up your time, effort, and well-being for their gain. But here's the key. You have the freedom to prioritize taking care of yourself. Taking care of your emotional well-being and not allowing their negativity to deplete you could entail engaging in activities, mindfulness exercises, meditation, or taking pauses from social contacts that fulfill you and make you happy. Self-care also entails knowing when you've had enough of when a toxic individual is pushing you to the edge. It's acceptable to move back, make room, and concentrate on yourself. We learn the value of preserving inner serenity from therapeutic Stoicism, and the cornerstone of that tranquility is self-care. When you put your health first, toxic individuals lose their capacity to manipulate you, since you're not reliant on their acceptance or understand that you can't fix everyone. Realizing that you can't fix everyone is the 10th validation. You can't mend poisonous people, therefore you have to take medicines to cope with them. Regardless of how much you try, how much you love them, or how many sleepless nights you spend attempting to recognize their actions, you are not in charge of their poisonous recovery. People are frequently caught in cycles of control, manipulation, and blame shifting. Since it fulfills their requirements, whether they are for emotional validation or only a perverted sense of power over other people, the more you attempt to correct them, the you get more and more stuck. Have you ever attempted to assist someone only to find that your efforts are ignored or undervalued? Perhaps you've been in a relationship in which your significant other continuously made you feel inadequate, regardless of how much you. Because you go above and beyond, toxic people keep you caught in a vicious loop of guilt and obligation. Despite your repeated attempts to correct them, they never alter because they secretly don't want to hear this. But you are not their savior. Stoicism teaches us that you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Significance of concentrating on what we can manage and what you cannot. When you quit trying, the only person you can control is yourself. Fix other people and begin concentrating on repairing your own boundaries and responses. Discovering freedom will allow you to recover the energy you've been squandering on someone who never valued it in the first place. You can break free from toxic people's manipulation the moment you realize you don't have to fix them. It's your responsibility to mend damaged individuals. You deserve to be in relationships where you are respected and loved, not where your emotional work is seldom acknowledged or rewarded. Thus, number 11 uses cognitive. Cognitive reframing is where the true mental change occurs. Toxic people have a remarkable capacity to make you feel like the antagonist in their twisted tale circumstances that falsify information and blame you for everything. But here's since Stoicism teaches us that we cannot. The truth is about them, not about ourselves. We can influence others, but we can also influence how we see the world. This is where, in a debate, cognitive reframing can be a very effective tactic. You can reframe the issue with someone who is always criticizing you rather than taking their statements personally. Their critique is a reflection of their own value, not of yours. By changing your viewpoint, you can eliminate your anxiety's ability to harm you and start to recognize their toxic nature. Conduct for what it really is, a projection of their own shortcomings and anxieties. Consider how frequently, when toxic individuals gaslight you, they cause you to doubt your sanity or reality. Cognitive reframing enables you to stand back and remind yourself that this is about them, not about me. Issue when you interpret their actions as reflecting them rather than you. After you recover your emotional fortitude, you cease internalizing their poisonous behavior. When someone who is toxic lashes out, think for a moment before responding and ask yourself, truly about me? Or is this a mirror of their own inner conflicts? Most of the time you'll discover that this mental change is a game changer. It will be a lot simpler after you cease customizing their actions. To emotionally shield oneself and maintain composure during their for your own peace, learn to forgive others. Drama number 12. Forgiveness is a technique that may be helpful for your own tranquility. Contradictory, but remember that forgiveness is about more than just letting the poisonous person off the hook. Liberating oneself. I'm not referring to ignoring their actions or acting as though nothing occurred. Here's the difficult part about letting go of the emotional burden that comes with harboring anger, resentment, and hatred. Truth, you are simply harming yourself when you continue to harbor that negativity. When you're furious over someone wronging you, consider the fact that they've probably moved on with their lives. In the meantime, you're unable to stop playing back the same upsetting recollections in your mind, which enrages you. Holding on to it is punishing you, not them. This is where Marcus Aurelius taught us to be stoic and to forgive, not because forgiving does not equate to forgetting, both for the sake of others and for our own inner peace. When justifying someone's actions, it entails deciding to release the emotional hold they have on you. It indicates that you're not allowing their destructive behavior to dictate your pleasure, your mood, or your regaining your power is what life forgiveness is all about. Here's how you do it. Instead of immediately forgiving someone after a transgression, practice starting small. Forgiving little offenses initially, then letting go of the smaller ones, is a significant betrayal behavior. Annoyances, the offensive remarks, the contemptuous demeanor, and observe how much, as you gradually feel lighter, this will strengthen your emotional fortitude and get you ready to forgive even the larger. Remember that you're doing this for yourself, not for them, even when it hurts. Forgiveness is the ultimate act of self-care is letting go of resentment because it creates mental room for growth, happiness and calm. Starting today, number 13, when to walk, you're evicting folks so they can't live rentre in your head any longer. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, there comes a moment when, no matter how long you've known them, how close you've been, or how much history you have in common, you have to leave. You should leave someone who consistently disregards your limits, plays with your emotions, or saps your vitality. The strongest thing you can do is to walk away. It's the ultimate declaration of toxic self-worth. People will attempt to persuade you that you're the issue, that you're leaving them if you go, or that you're giving up too soon. Don't fall for their deceptions. You've already given enough of, you've battled long enough to keep a relationship that just makes you feel worse. And it's time to make your own decision. Picture yourself in a bad love relationship in which your significant other continuously belittles, insults, or causes you to feel as like you must tread carefully, and no amount of love or work on your side will make it the healthiest. Walking away is an option, but it won't be simple because there will be feelings of guilt, sadness, and dread of the unknown, but nothing